There's an old saying, and it's forewarned is forearmed. What it means is that by anticipating events, one is better positioned to react to them. Logically, it follows that running a chance strat with multiple potential outcomes is the best way to outplay your opponent in Yu-Gi-Oh! What they fail to predict, they will fail to defend against, right? Well, wrong, because cards that rely on rolls of dice are notoriously bad. But we're not done with logic yet. If chance cards are usually bad, then the ones with the wildest, most unpredictable effects are most likely to counterbalance the trend of their nature, right? Well, wrong again. But unpredictable chance cards are fun, and this list is going to run down some of the most left field unpredictable dice cards in the game. And at number 10, we have Dangerous Machine Type 6. This classic continuous spell was first released in the TCG as a Duelist League promo exclusive, but would later see wider circulation with it including the 2008 set Light of Destruction. It rolls a dice during each of your standby phases and activates a different effect to coincide with each result. On a 1, you discard a card. On a 2, your opponent does the same. On a 3, you'll draw a card. On 4, your opponent gets 2. On a 5, you'll destroy an opponent's monster, and on a 6, Dangerous Machine Type 6 destroys itself. Despite its various effects, it's a pretty simple card, which makes it a good starting spot for this list. Each turn, a dice is rolled and something happens. The major downside of Dangerous Machine Type 6 isn't even its negative effects, but rather that it must be resolved during your standby phase. This means that the turn you activate it, your dice will go unrolled, and if your opponent has anything capable of popping back row, you probably won't be rolling any dice at all. Let's actually keep Snight Hunter on screen for a second, because both this card and Dangerous Machine Type 6 are featured in the artwork of the dice support card, That's 6. This continuous trap has the effect of letting the player change all odd dice results to a 1, and all even die results to a 6. Also pictured on the card is Terror King Archfiend, and you'll notice none of the entities depicted are doing super great. That's because Terror King Archfiend, Snipe Hunter, and Dangerous Machine Type 6 all don't want to roll 1s or 6s, making that 6 a very specific counter to them personally. With Snipe Hunter, you can discard a card to roll a dice, and a resulting 2, 3, 4, or 5, you can pop an opponent's card. Terror King Archfiend can roll a dice when it's designated as a target, and negate the effect on a 2 or 5. In this shadow of an enemy, that's 6, neither of these fiends are winning any rolls. We've already covered what happens when Dangerous Machine Type 6 turns out a 1 or 6, but to reiterate, that 6 turns this card into a coin flip between discarding 1 and blowing itself up. Ironically, that 6 is a card that can really help pretty much every other dice roller on this list. Boo, I'm a ghost from the future!
Oh my god, are you me from the future?
No, just from the future. I'm here to tell you how you can save so much time and effort eating healthy this summer.
Oh? Well, no thanks. I kind of have to wake up early tomorrow for work.
But wouldn't you like to eat stress-free this summer with Factor's delicious, ready-to-eat meals? Every fresh, never-frozen meal is chef-crafted, dietitian-approved, and ready to eat in just 2 minutes.
Well, that sounds great. Anyways, I'm going to bed now.
No, but you don't understand. There's over 35 meals to choose from every week, with options like keto, calorie smart, vegan, veggie, and many more.
I don't really see how that's summer specific.
Well, there's lots of snacks that are great in the summer, like smoothies, juices, small bites, breakfast, and many more that can keep you going no matter what's on your schedule for the day. Depending on your goals this summer, having all these quick, healthy meals can only help you get more time out of your summer activities.
Well, that's nice. Can you come back in the morning to remind me? It's 3 a.m.
Thanks to Factor75 for sponsoring today's video. Use my link to get 50% off your first Factor box and 20% off your next month of orders. Ushering in an age of all-consuming darkness at spot number 9 is the level 8 Ritual Fiend Darkmaster Zork. With 2700 attack and 1500 defense, the Darkmaster has a stat line befitting his epithet. But the true destructive power is in its effect. Once per turn, Zork can roll a 6-sided die. On a 1 or 2, Zork annihilates every monster on your opponent's board. On a 3, 4, or 5, he destroys one enemy monster. On a 6, the dark powers of the Darkmaster are too unpredictable and destructive, and he blows up. Unlike Dangerous Machine Type 6, the Darkmaster's self-destruction is not self-contained. On a 6, Zork destroys every monster on your board. Overall, Zork has a good effect that can easily swing the outcome of the game in either direction, and Zork still sees some competitive play in Goat format, where the suddenness with which it can hit the field makes it a real threat. Usually, a deck running Zork will meet its 8 level of tribute cost by running a copy of the Mass Beast, which can be searched with the same generic ritual supports that served Zork, and summoned by the attribute-specific ritual spell Contract with the Abyss. For this reason, Zork's intended ritual spell Contract with the Darkmaster is often completely dropped, since many early level rituals lacked useful bells and whistles that would become the norm later on. Calling Zork an early ritual monster is right, since he first released in 2003 with the Dark Crisis set, but its appearance actually predates its arrival to the TCG. Although this card would never appear in the Duel Monsters anime, it would appear during the Monster World arc from the original Yu-Gi-Oh manga. In this story, Yugi and the gang are forced to play Yamabakura's Shadow Game, where they have to storm a castle taken over by the Dark Master, utilizing Dungeons and Dragons style dice rolling to progress the story and combat foes. In the anime, this encounter with Yamabakura is reimagined into the Dream Duel where Yugi, Joey, Tristan, and Taya all temporarily become their favorite cards. But in Duel Links, duelists could play out Bakura's original RPG during the tabletop RPG Monster World event. This is because the Duel Links world follows the Duel Monsters manga rather than the anime, which is probably why characters from the anime's filler arcs like Noah Kaiba and Raphael haven't appeared in-game. Fizzling and crackling all the way to the number 8 on this list is Hinezumi Hanabi. Originally released in 2020's Phantom Rage set, this level 4 Fire Beast monster has 2000 attack and 200 defense, which is a respectable stat line for a low-level normal summon. But Hinezumi Hanabi's got a little bit more going on than Gmord Warwolf. When summoned, this fiery mouse collects 6 counters and cannot be used as material for Synchro, Xyz, Fusion, or Link summon. When it hits the field, Hanabi is probably going to stick around, at least until it removes itself with its own effect, which will happen, because those counters are counting down. And when they're all gone, Hanabi will explode, dealing 2000 damage to its controller. The monster is actually a game of hot potato, because during the end phase, control of Hanabi changes, and when that happens, its new controller must roll a 6-sided die, removing counters equal to the result. When will Hinezumi Hanabi blow up? Well, it depends on the die. But with only 6 counters, it hasn't got the longest fuse in the world. Let's look at some rolls and outcomes. If the turn player summons Hanabi, first roll will go to your opponent. If your opponent rolls a 6, Hanabi spontaneously combusts, so that's an unlikely but not inconsequential 16.67% chance. If your opponent rolls lower than the most they possibly can, Hanabi's original owner will take second roll. There are 36 ways to roll a pair of dice, and only 10 of them save the second controller from Hanabi's fallout, which means they have a whopping 72.2% chance outright of catching Flaming Mouse Shrapnel, but those odds can be adjusted. If you're anticipating ownership of Hinezumi Hanabi, you might have prepared text that can work around its constraints to remove it from the board while gaining advantage. Still, this card is a cool combination of easy to get on the field, silly dice rolling effects, and fun design. While Hinezumi is a mythological fire wrap and Hanabi means firework, the idea is that when you play Hinezumi Hanabi, you're lighting a firework. When will it go off? Where will it point when sparks fly? This next card could probably take a spot further up this list, but it'd be wrong to not give number 7 number 7. Number 7, Lucky Straight, is a rank 7 light fairy with 700 attack and 700 defense. Finally, it requires an overlay of 3 level 7 monsters to XC summon. Its initial stats are a bit low, but those are going to change once you detach one overlay unit to activate Lucky Straight's effect to roll 2 dice. Firstly, Lucky Straight's attack is going to increase by 700 times the higher roll until your opponent's next end phase. That means that if either of the dice lands on a 6, Lucky Straight's attack is climbing to a whopping 4900 attack at max. Lucky Straight's always going to gain attack, but if the sum of your 2 rolls is 7, it gets to choose another effect from its menu of 3 enticing options. Lucky Straight has a choice of sending every other card on the field to the graveyard, which is big, but you also have the option to special summon a monster from hand or either graveyard, or for its final effect, Lucky Straight can also mimic Graceful Charity by letting you draw 3 and then discard 2. All of these effects are pretty powerful and versatile, but exactly how lucky do you have to be to experience the windfall of choosing one? When rolling a pair of dice, there are 36 possible permutations. Of those 36 are 6 scenarios that add to 7, giving you a 16.7% or 1 in 6 odds of resolving one of Lucky Straight's lucky effects. Although that's not the best chance ever, it is worth noting that 7 is the most common individual result when rolling a pair of dice. Number 7, Lucky Straight, actually saw decent experimentation during Dragon Ruler format, since the state of the meta saw an influx of level 7s taking the field. But what's up with 7 anyways? Why so many 7s? Well, there's not really one answer beyond the fact that it's a commonly recurring number in both culture and nature. 7 is the only prime number to precede a cube, and the religious reference to it are plentiful. The 7 classical planets, which aren't really planets, just the major celestial bodies you can see from Earth with just your eye, which were the original modus behind the 7 days of the week. Many folkloric traditions maintain that a 7th son is born with occult powers, and 7th son of the 7th son is born with healing powers. This superstition is often mixed with other bits of supernatural folklore to create an origin story for werewolves and vampires. Also notable are the 7 gods of good fortune from Japanese mythology. There's just a lot hovering in the aether around the mystical number 7. And number 7, Lucky Straight, is a fascinating accent artifact to surface in the super significance of superstition. Nice try every other card in the game, none of you can withstand the force of number 6 pick, Orgoth the Relentless. A level 7 Earth Warrior with 2500 attack and 2450 defense. That finally released to massive adoration and acclaim from duelists internationally with the Battle of Legend Relentless Revenge set in 2018. Duke Devlin's Ace monster strikes hard and fast and rolls 3 dice on activation of its effect. During the main phase, you can increase Orgoth's stats by 100 times the sum of your 3 dice rolls. But that's just what happens every time. If any 2 of your rolled dice are the same, Orgoth gains an additional effect. If you've duplicated 1s or 2s, Orgoth cannot be destroyed by battle or card effects until the next turn, which isn't bad. If you've got double 3s or 4s, you can draw 2, which is way better. On repeats 5s or 6, Orgoth can attack directly, which is nothing to sneeze at since his attack will be an absolute minimum 3600, and that's only if you roll 2 5s and a 1. On 2 6s and a 5, your opponent is staring down a hulking behemoth with glowing eyes, a diamond blade, and 4200 attack. But what happens if you roll 3 of a kind? Then Orgoth does everything. Attack and defense increase, he's protected from battle and effect destruction, you draw 2, and he can attack directly. He is absolutely relentless. It's time to do some math. There is always math. When all of this is gone, there will only be math. Per the laws of math, by which all things abide and someday die, 216 outcomes exist to the activation of Orgoth the Relentless' effect. There are exactly 6 ways you can roll 3 of a kind: 111, 222, 333, 444, 555, and 666. There are also exactly 6 ways you can resolve a single one of Orgoth's additional effects. For example, if you want to draw 2 cards, the following permutations would yield a success: 3x3, x33, 33x, 4x4, x44, and 44x. This means that in Orgoth's tree of outcomes, you have a 2.8% or 1 in 36 chance of resolving all 3 of Orgoth's effects. Since you have the same odds of activating Orgoth effect in isolation, your odds of seeing an individual Orgoth effect are actually 5.6%. Your odds of seeing any additional Orgoth effect at all are surprisingly decent at 1 in 36 chance, or 11.11%. No matter what, you'll be seeing a stat boost, but the sheer amount of outcomes Orgoth provides, combined with his very important place in Duel Monsters lore as the Ace of Duke Devlin, the single most important card in any anime or story ever, makes Orgoth worthy of note and praise. He's Orgoth and he's relentless, and he's coming for your life points. All of them. And crushing the competition to claim a sweet number 5 is number 67, Paradise Smasher. This rank 5 Xyz monster is a light fairy, 2100 attack and defense, that can be brought out with entirely generic materials. Fittingly, it released alongside Orgoth the Relentless in Battle of Legend Relentless Revenge. And like Orgoth, the dice will be flying. Once during your main phase 1, you can activate Paradise Smasher's effect by detaching 2 materials to make both players roll 2 dice. The player with the higher total is locked out of activating monster effects or declaring attacks until the end of their next turn. This is a wild risk and could result in a widely diverse array of game states for both players. Unless you tie, someone's going to win and someone's going to lose. And isn't that what Yu-Gi-Oh! Really is in a nutshell? But Paradise Smasher's Dice Hammer crushes nutshells and anything else it comes down on. If Paradise Smasher still has an Xyz material after activating its effect, the controlling player can change one of the results to a 7, which makes it hard to lose the Paradise roll-off. But how hard? Time for some more math. As previously established during the number 7 Lucky Straight part of this video, there are 36 outcomes from rolling a pair of dice. If one of those results is always going to be 7, that generates less outcomes. It's actually just 6. You're looking at 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13 as potential results. And since 21 out of the 36 possible sums when rolling a pair of dice are less than 8, an activation of number 67, Paradise Smasher with materials left over, gives you an outright 58.3, repeating of course, % chance of winning. And that's just the baseline. If you roll low, your odds are even better. And that's also limiting number 67 Paradise Smasher to its own dice rolling effect. If you choose not to activate, Paradise Smasher still lets you turn a die result into a 7 once per turn. This makes it able to fix the outcome for cards that want to roll high like Graceful Dice and even Snipe Hunter, who doesn't actually want to roll high but specifically avoid a 6, which ding ding ding, a 7 does that. Unlike many other dice cards, Paradise Smasher is fairly reliable. Where the unpredictability sets in is with its versatility. What impact will an activation of Paradise Smasher have on the game? What card is getting the adjustment 7? Slightly taking this chance to claim spot number 4 is Royal Rhino with Deceitful Dice. This level 1 Earth Beast has 600 attack and defense and broke out of containment with the 2024 set Phantom Nightmare. Just look at this card, it's magnificent. And it has an effect to match its card shark swagger. Once per turn, you can roll 6-sided die as a quick effect. Then things get a little complicated. See, Royal Rhino has 3 other effects, with each of those effects scaling in strength based on the roll of the die, which effect is chosen by the Chain Link Royal Rhino is activated on. On Chain Link 2, Royal Rhino will gain attack equal to the die result times 500 until the end of the turn, making it a potential 3600 attack normal summon. Or even 4100 if you're a dedicated Dice Fiend and already have number 67 Paradise Smasher on the board. But attack gains are fickle, and the battle phase is long and full of terrors. So Royal Rhino enjoyers will probably aim to roll the Deceitful Dice on Chain Link 3 or 4. On 3, you'll inflict damage to your opponent equal to the die result times 500, meaning you can deal up to 3000 directly, which can absolutely swing games. Chain Link 4 though, well, that's where the big Royal Rhino plays live. When you roll a Chain Link 4, you can destroy cards on the field equal to the die roll. Multi-card chosen without target removal is pretty epic, and so is Royal Rhino with Deceitful Dice. What's it gonna do? You can't know, for its dice are deceitful. They lie, its plays are unpredictable, and its attire is sharp. Sometimes everything comes down to a single roll, and that roll is pretty much any time the number 3 pick Dice Jar activates its flip effect. This level 3 light rock with 200 attack and 300 defense released in the 2003 set Pharaonic Guardian, and is so unpredictable yet devastating that it has seen a scant handful of competitive placements despite being a low-statted flip effect monster. When flipped, Dice Jar forces both players to roll a 6-sided die. The player with the lower roll takes damage equal to the higher roll times 500. Draw results re-roll until a winner is clear. This can already add up to a lot of damage. After all, 5 times 500 is 2500, and that equals to a direct attack from a Dark Magician. But here's the real kicker. If the winning roll of Dice Jar's effect is a 6, the lower roll player takes 6000 damage. Effects that deal such extreme heights of burn are rare in Yu-Gi-Oh! Because of how powerful it is to instantly inflict damage. Dice Jar can boast such a wild burn ceiling because of the associated risk. Your opponent might roll well, or skewer you with 6000 damage. This is where cards like That 6 and number 67 Paradise Smasher really shine. Being able to fix the dice roll turns this toss-up gimmick card into a gimmick card with actual potential. Dice Jar FTK strategies often use cards like Paw of Duality or Rock Bombardment, plus a Feather the Phoenix to search out Dice Jar, and follow up cards with Book of Eclipse, Book of Moon, or Book of Taiyu to recurse its flip effect. Dice Jar can end you on any turn. It can be hidden behind any set monster. It's probably behind you right now. It senses fear and feeds on attention. Just pretend it'll go away, and that'll probably work, sure. Number 2 is number 85, Crazy Box. It would be a Shadow Realm worthy offense to put together a list of unbreakable dice cards and not include the Crazy Box. This rank 4 Dark Fiend requires an overlay of 2 generic level 4s to summon and comes with an intimidating 3000 attack and mostly ignored 300 defense. Alright, so Crazy Box, let's talk about it. A completely generic rank 4 3000 attack is awesome, being a Dark Fiend is great. Unfortunately, Crazy Box can't actually attack. Yeah, that might seem puzzling, but Crazy Box attack stat isn't what makes Crazy Box unpredictable or even good, which it is. We've all seen a monster at 3000 attack before, but there's only one Crazy Box. You can activate the effect of Crazy Box once per turn by detaching an overlay unit, after which you must roll a dice. Like another dice monster that saw Oodles of competitive play, with Crazy Box we're looking for a 2, 3, 4, or 5. A roll of 1 halves your life points, which isn't fantastic, but not always detrimental. You only need 1 life point to win after all. But if you roll a 6, then Crazy Box self-destructs, which is unacceptable. Because if you're not playing Crazy Box, what's the point? The point is to not roll a 1 or a 6, because on rolling a 2, you get to draw a card. If you roll a 3, your opponent must discard a card. You can negate the effect of 1 face-up card on the field until the end of the turn on a 4, and when you net a 5, you can pop a card on the field. Isn't that crazy? And you know what else is crazy? Number 85 Crazy Box released in 2013's Number Hunter set alongside fellow box card Box of Friends. Could a relatively strategic deck be crafted entirely of box cards without resorting to just running battling boxers? Create something, do it, explain in the comments, do it for Crazy Box. And speaking of Crazy Box and doing things, Crazy Box did a ton of competitive play. Its easiness to summon potential upsides are way more important than what might happen if Crazy Box rolls wrong. If you can't focus tunnel vision on a possible future victory, how will you ever feel anything but despair when you face down a Traptrix player? And racing for the first place, the number 1 spot for the final finish, is FA Dead Heat from 2018's Flame of Destruction set. It was a tough call between this continuous trap and number 85 Crazy Box. So tough you might call it a dead heat. And maybe that's what clinched it at the end. But enough silliness, we're racing now because that's what FA Dead Heat is all about. The whole FA archetype is about racing, with FA standing for Formula Athlete. These cards are actually related to the UA Ultra Athlete archetype, with both sets of cards canonically competing in events in the same UA Hyper Stadium, which is a rebuilt and tricked out version of UA Stadium, where these dual monster sporting events picked up enough momentum to launch a racing franchise. True to its name, FA Dead Heat makes you and your opponent race with dice. For starters, on a direct attack from your opponent, you can summon an FA monster from your deck, which branches into Dead Heat's second effect, which is where the dice and wheels get rolling. Once per battle that involves one of your FA monsters, both players roll a 6-sided die. If your result is higher, you can increase the level of your FA monster by 4 until the end of the turn. If your opponent's roll is higher, well, you lose the race as your FA monster spins out, crashes, and burns. There are no ties either. Under FA Dead Heat, you and your opponent re-roll same results until someone's a winner. Usually, levels don't dictate damage calculation, but the FA archetype has a fun mechanic where their levels are treated like speed. With every level, they gain momentum and attack strength to the tune of 300 attack per level. So FA Hang On Mock, which is a level 4 wind machine with 1800 defense and 0 base attack, will land on the field in 4th gear with an attack value of 1200. Those 4 levels gained from winning FA Dead Heat roll translate into additional 1200 attack that may let you outspeed your opponent to destroy their monster. To complement their stat increases, FA monsters can also often achieve strong latent effects once they reach a certain degree of speed. For FA Hang On Mock, when it reaches or exceeds level 7, it applies a powerful floodgate that causes all cards sent to your opponent's graveyard to redirect into the banished pile instead. FA Dark Dragster can decrease its level by 3 to pop a card on the field. But how do these cards get going? Aside from FA Auto Navigator, which searches, and FA Shining Star GT, which does something similar but with athlete counters, all FA monsters gain a level each time an FA spell or trap card is activated. Dead Heat not only boosts the attack points of your cards, but can help them realize their full potential. When FA Hang On Mock wins a Dead Heat race, and then destroys your opponent's monster, its one-sided Macrocosmos will make sure that monster is banished instead of being destroyed and sent to the graveyard. And while this is a very cool effect that synergizes with both cards' narrative and playstyle, it is by definition unpredictable. Dead Heat, no one has won yet, and just from watching, there can be no discerning who's going to. The only thing left to do is roll some dice and floor it. Alright, and that's the list. You never know how the dice are going to play until they've left your hand and tremble to a stop. Fittingly, there are many dice cards in Yu-Gi-Oh! With varied effects. If I missed your favorite, or if you have more ideas for future videos just like this one, I'd love to hear about them down in the comments.